Welcome to 500 Doors, your real estate podcast. Speaking with industry experts in real estate buying, selling, planning, developing, wholesaling, investing, financing, management. If it's real estate, we're talking about it. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, an award-winning 6- and 7-figure real estate agent with over 2 decades of experience. Understanding real estate is a dream for many that we, real estate professionals, have the ability to bring that dream to reality while building better communities and being the change we want to see. Hello, welcome back. You know what? If this is the first time you've stumbled across 500 Doors, well, the reality is behind every door is opportunity. And sometimes we have talked to the people who are funding those doors and people who are building those doors. It's a crazy world we're in right now. Everybody's like, who's got the magic ball, right? And sometimes we don't need soothsayers to tell us what's next. Sometimes we have to go back and see those who have proven records, because when you are proven and you've figured out systems, you can figure out the system that will prove itself in the next evolution of what's coming down the pipe in real estate. And honey, it is crazy out there. All right, our next guest, author, speaker, investor, coach, and private lending expert Jay Conner has rehabbed over hundreds and hundreds of homes and raised millions of dollars since 2003, understanding the frustration many face and fascination of real estate, but understanding the fascination of real estate and the frustrations that many face when seeking funding to pursue real estate investing. Jay works to expose the opportunities in private funding and the freedoms that come with it. And we're going to dive into that a little bit. Jay is the former president of the Business Networking International. And him and his wife, and I love this, Jay and his wife, Carol, are based in Moorhead, North Carolina, because we always want to know where people are coming from, because markets vary, but they're all the same. Right, Jay?
You got it, Kim. I'm so excited to be here with you.
You like the intro? I get excited. I always feel like, whoa, here's your Superman cape. All right, Jay. What we do first here is I want to get a little bit of who is Jay. Set that frame for me. Tell me, because you have a lifelong of experience. I want to know in a very condensed, like that Cliff Note version, who is Jay?
Well, I'm Jay Conner, and first of all, I'm an ER, not an OR. Most Connors are ORs, but I'm a CON and ER. And my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we live here in a very, very small area of eastern North Carolina, Moorhead City, North Carolina. Population only 8,000 people in Moorhead City. Our total target market of investing in real estate is only 40,000 people, but we do 2 to 3 single family house deals a month. Average profits right now are $78,000. So the point of that story is not to pat myself on the back, but to make the point, you don't have to be investing in a huge or large market in order to make huge and large profits. Well, we started investing full time, flipping single family houses all the way back to 2003. And the very first 6 years, from 2003 to 2009, we relied on local banks to fund our deals. That's all that I knew to do. But then in January 2009, I picked up the phone. Believe it or not, we still actually have handsets and cords here in Eastern North Carolina. I picked up my phone handset. I called my banker. I had this kind of a conversation with him many times. I told him I had 2 houses under contract. And these houses represented over $100,000 in profit on these 2 deals. And I called him, and he was going to fund them for me. At least I thought. Well, I didn't know that we were having a global financial crisis until now I've got a crisis. He informed me on that telephone conversation that the bank had shut down my line of credit. I had no way to fund my deals. Well, I learned about private money right away. I had never heard of private money, private lending, and I'm not talking about other institutional money or hard money. I'm talking about doing business and borrowing money from individuals. I was able to raise $2,150,000 in less than 90 days from individual private lenders, and I closed on those 2 deals. And since January 2009, because of this biggest blessing in disguise we've ever had in our business, of that going through that difficulty, we've never missed out on a deal because we didn't have the funding.
I think this is such a timely conversation because we all know that over the last hundreds of years that real estate is a legacy builder. Real estate, we're short in North America over 5 million residential homes. So if you can create a solution, that is great. If you can create a legacy and raise your family out of, borderline poverty or give your family freedom, that is amazing. However, we're all sitting here watching bank issues, banks who are backed by commercial real estate, and commercial is in crisis. So when we're out looking for private funding, first of all, everybody wants to know what's the percentage? Like, is there a big difference between private funding and bank funding? That would be the first question that a lot of people would have.
Yeah, in today's market, there's not that much difference. Commercial rates are almost right at what I pay my private lenders. I've been paying my private lenders the same interest rate all the way back since 2009, and I still pay them the same thing today, and that is 8%. 8%. No points, no origination fees.
Okay. And that's actually very fair. I mean, the first mortgage I got back in 1994 was at 6.8. So, and that was a good rate. That may be sticker shock to some people because we've had unrealistic low interest rates, and that's what it is. I'm sorry if you are 30 years old and listening to this and you think you're entitled to, a 1% mortgage rate and cash back. That's not how the world economics actually moves. Somebody has to make money in order to lend money. So 8% is actually very, very fair because I've seen, kind of these through when you go through mortgage brokers, sometimes these third tier, and they could be upwards of 15 and 16%. So that's
Absolutely, particularly when you're talking hard money or institutional. Hard money is usually a broker of money. It's a fund they go out and raise money from private lenders. So we're circumventing the middle person and going directly doing business with individuals. And truth be told, Kim, in my experience, access to the money is actually more important than the rate, right? I mean,
yeah.
when COVID came along, even the hard money lenders went away. For 6 months, hard money lenders were like loaning no money on real estate.
Yeah.
And on this side of COVID, I had more money chasing me, private lenders wanting to loan me money on deals because they didn't know where to put their money. Interestingly enough, Kim, here's an interesting statistic. Prior to COVID, there was $18 trillion that individuals had collectively in retirement accounts sitting in cash, and they didn't know what to do with it. On this side of COVID, as of 3 months ago, $31 trillion in cash sitting in people's retirement accounts. The reason that's important to us real estate investors is there's two primary places that private lenders get money to loan us money. And that is either A, from their own investment liquid capital that they have to invest, and they also get money from their retirement accounts. Maybe they got a retirement account in the stock market, or they've got an old 401k from a previous employer. Well, they can actually move those retirement funds over to an IRS approved self-directed IRA company and then loan that money out to us. And there's no penalties and no taxes on that money. So that's why it's important to know about self-directed IRAs and how they work as well.
Oh my gosh. And you do all this like in courses and right? You teach all of this, correct?
Yeah, I do it, and then I teach what I know and what I do.
That is brilliant because real estate agents like myself, we tend to know how to do an open house, how to run a Facebook ad, how to take the right pictures, how to write the copy. We don't tend to know the solution options for our clients who are downsizing, who are looking to upsize, we don't tend to know a lot of that. So I mean, I'm sitting here learning terms that I know them in passing, but I don't know how they apply to what I do. Um, So let's go a little bit down to the. I want to get from you if you're open to this. I don't know if you're going to be as if I'm asking you to share trade secrets, but could you give me the death to the like what not to say when seeking private funding? What is the absolute worst thing you can do that will self-sabotage your efforts?
I can tell you exactly what the answer to that is, Ken. That's an excellent question. So, first of all, I've never asked anybody for money. All right. So, we're back to framing the mindset of how do you attract funding into your world without asking for money. On top of that, I've never pitched a deal to a private lender for them to fund. And people say, well, how in the world do you do that? Here's how you do it. We separate the conversations from teaching individuals what private money is, what self-directed IRAs are, and how they can earn high rates of return safely and securely. So we put our teacher hat on. I've got 47 private lenders, individuals, human beings right now, investing in our deals with us, loaning us money on our deals. And not one of them, Kim, not one of them had ever heard of private money or private lending until I taught them about it. Secondly, over half of them are using their retirement funds to invest in our deals with us, and none of them had ever heard of self-directed IRAs. So who are these people? I go to church with them. I'm in the Rotary Club. I'm in Business Networking International. It's connections. They're in my cell phone. They're on my email list. They're in my social media. So I put on my teacher. That's the first framing. Put on your teacher hat. And what do you teach? Well, you teach the private lending program that I created, which is what's the interest rate I'm going to pay you? How am I going to protect you? I'm not borrowing unsecured funds. We're going to back every promissory note with a mortgage or deed of trust. I'm not going to borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value of that house that I'm going to rehab. So I teach them the program. So that's the first activity, right? And I love starting a conversation with did you know questions. One of my favorite did you know questions is, did you know there's a way that people can earn unlimited money per year, tax free or at least tax deferred? And of course, they don't know the answer to that question. So that leads to, I say, have you ever heard of self-directed IRAs? And of course, they haven't. So that opens up the conversation to teach them. So now I teach them. The worst thing you can do is tell somebody about private money, and in the same conversation, you got a deal that you need funded. You are already sounding desperate. You're sounding like you're chasing. You're sounding like you're begging. So we first teach, right? That can be one-on-one. It can be at a private lender luncheon where you buy people lunch and you teach them about it. It can be a Zoom party, all different kinds of ways to communicate the private lending program and how you do that. Now, it takes about 20 minutes to teach the program. And so then I shut up. Believe it or not, I know how to shut up. So I teach the program and then I just shut up. I don't have to ask them, well, what do you think? That's a stupid question. I just teach the program and then I shut up and say, that's how it works. Well, if they've got investment capital and or retirement funds, they'll say inevitably, well, how do I get started? Do I just write you a check? No, nobody writes me any checks. They will wire their funds to my closing agent, real estate attorney here in North Carolina, to the escrow account, and then funds are dispersed after closing. So we teach.
There's no direct checks. Nobody's in the back handing out cash.
That's right. That's right. And so then they tell me how much they got to work with. They got 150,000, 200, 250,000, 50,000, whatever. They tell me how much they got to work with. Are they retirement funds? And I need to introduce them to the company that I recommend. It's called a third-party custodian to move those retirement funds over. So anyway, they're ready to go. Now they're waiting for my phone call. Now here's the magic of not asking for funding. So they've already told me how much they got. Kim, let's say you're one of my new private lenders. You've told me you got $150,000. Here's the script. Here's the script. I call you up, we have a little chit chat, and then here's what I say to you, Kim, as my new private lender. I say, Kim, I've got great news for you. I can now put your money to work that you told me about. I've got a house in Newport that's got an after repaired value of $200,000. The funding required for that property is $150,000. Closing is next Thursday, so you'll need to have your money wired to my real estate attorney by next Wednesday. I want to have my real estate attorney email you the wiring instructions. End of conversation. I didn't ask you if you wanted to do the deal. That's the most stupid question I could ask in the world. Of course,
Yeah,
you want to do the deal. You've been waiting for the phone call, particularly if you've already moved your retirement funds over to the self-directed IRA. You're not making any money while it's just sitting there. And of course, I'm not going to tell you about a deal to fund unless it meets the criteria of the program that I already taught you. So it's just a very smooth transition from waiting for the teaching. You're waiting for the phone call. I call you with good news. Here we go.
What's the average timeline that you're talking to them about? What do you feel is the optimum timeline that people respond to between
Timeline.
investment to return?
So from the time I teach them and they're on board and they want to go and they want to do a deal, typically I can put their money to work within 30 days, typically. And then the length of the note is either 2 years if it's investment capital or 5 years if it's retirement funds. But typically, since in today's market, I'm doing so much flipping, of course, I'm not buying anything in the multiple listing service because there's nothing in there. There's no inventory. All the houses that I'm buying are off market or for sale by owners that we are
Wholesale, yeah.
to.
So
And
do you work with a wholesaler then? Because wholesaling seems to be, do you have like a wholesale intern that helps you locate those or?
so our area is so small, there's nobody here that even wholesales.
Oh.
But if I was in a larger market, yes, I would be on the wholesalers buyers list because I've got the private money and I can take the deal down.
This is brilliant because it it keeps people's money working but educated. Like they know what they're doing. They have a set timeline. How do you feel that your efforts in your community, be it community of 40,000 or 400,000, how do you feel that your efforts contribute to the community?
That's a great question, Kim. There's so many people that are impacted by just one single family house. So here we go. Number one, the private lender that funded the deal is getting a high rate of return safely and securely that they can't get in the local bank, right? So private lender's happy. The seller of that property. So I'm buying most of the time properties from for sale by owners. Either the owner of that property has got a problem and is in distress, or the property has got a problem and is in distress, or all the above. I mean, if you get right down to it, Kim, you know as well as I do, we are in the business of solving problems. If there weren't problems to solve, nobody would need us, right? So you got the private lenders got to win. The seller of that property has got to win. So now let's talk about, I'm now owning that property. Who all is impacted now? Well, I renovate or rehab most of the single family houses. Well, think of all those people. Our average rehab is between $40,000, $50,000, and $60,000. There's the general contractor that's getting a win. Then there's all those subs, the HVAC people, the plumbers, the electricians, the flooring companies, all those people involved, the painters, all those families that are being impacted by being involved in rehabbing that house. And so then now it's rehabbed and ready to sell. Well, now my realtor, who's been my realtor for 19 years, since 2004, Chris Latham, he's been my go-to realtor.
Good plug.
19 years. And so he does all my comps. He does all the research on my houses. But any research that he does, when I list the house, of course, he's going to get the listing. Any bank-owned property that I make an offer on, I do my offers through Chris. So Chris and I have got this great relationship for now 19 years. So he's going to get the listing. He's going to make the commission, right, on the sale of that. And then think about the people that are buying, particularly in this market. There's nothing in the multiple listing service. So when I come along now with a beautiful, light new home that is just drop dead gorgeous, that should be in a Southern Living magazine, right? Then now they're impacted. So everybody all along the way is impacted. So We've now rehabbed about 475 houses here in our community. So we've impacted the community by turning the rundown, distressed properties into absolutely beautiful. And so I set my own comps. It's like,
And this actually stems out a little bit further in the community. So first of all, that number you've just given is over 10% of your local market. And anybody
over 1%, over 1%.
No, 407. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking 47th. Sorry. I did, but okay. It's a lot. So obviously I didn't do the math in real estate. I mention I do great open houses. This also stems further because you're raising the value of that community, which then actually raises the average homeowner income, which then has more money to spend at the local grocery store, more money to spend. This is like this is a trickle up theory, right? So we started at the bottom here and we're building Legos upon Legos upon Legos. I want to throw this out to all the real estate agents who are listening to this. I've got an idea for you. Just an idea. So one of the things Jay just mentioned was the loyalty and the relationship with his real estate agent. If you reverse engineer something like this, we're all looking for potential listings or ways to get into our market. What if you hosted one of Jay's courses and you taught people, but you created your own bench of experts? So you brought in your lawyer, you brought in, people to help with the banking and stuff. You create this and you create the opportunity, but instead of being the rehabber, where Jay is sitting, you're the real estate agent. So there's huge opportunity that there's, as my grandma would always say, I'm from Wichita, Kansas, and PETA, please, if you're with PETA, please do not call me on this, but this is an old saying. You know this saying, Jay, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And we're not skinning any cats. No cats were harmed in this podcast, I promise. Jay, what are if somebody somebody's coming to you. Okay, let's set a scenario here. During COVID, their small business was wiped out. They are working to recover, and maybe they had, maybe they have a friend who is an electrician, or a friend who is a painter, or a friend who is a real estate agent. They're all looking to get reestablished. We know that flipping homes is a great way because people want the deal or the reveal. HGTV changed the mindset on home purchasing 27 years ago, folks. I am telling you, as a real estate agent I don't sell ugly houses. You either remediate that home, stage that home, or I don't list it and sell it. Period, point blank. I haven't sold an ugly house since 2010. And I'm telling you, the consumer wants the deal or the reveal. You're looking for the deal so you can create the reveal. What are some of the ways that you've seen in teaching this that people can actually build a bench, build a team, and get this off the ground in their own local market?
Right. So new real estate investors, they have two questions. Where and how do I find the deals? And where and how do I get the money? Right. Now, I teach, and this is very, I get a lot of pushback on this. There's a lot of educators out there teaching new real estate investors, and here's what they say. And it's like the most stupid thing I ever heard. They say, get the deal under contract, the money will show up. And I go, where? Where's the money going to show up? Now, if you're wholesaling and you get a deal under contract and you want to assign your contract to a real estate investor and keep an assignment fee and you're out of the deal, then that's another story. You could build your buyer's list, but you still got to build. Here's the deal. I don't want to go get a deal under contract, whether I'm staying in the deal or I'm wholesaling it, if I don't know where I'm going to get my funding, right? Talk about, it just seems, Kim, like common sense to me, right? Think about how more confident and how many more offers people will make, real estate investors will make when they got money burning a hole in their pocket, ready to fund the deals. So I practice and I teach the money comes first. So that's how they get started. If you do it my way, learn how to get private money lined up, right? And the way I do it and the way I teach, it's very realistic to have at least $500,000 in private money available to you to be an investor in less than 30 days by just following the simple steps that I do and that I teach. So get the money lined up first. There's always going to be deals. There's always going to be deals as long as you know how to find them.
Jay, do you have a kind of a tentative business plan or a template of some sort that when people take your course, they may not be great networkers, but they learn to network. They learn where to go, right? But do you have something that they can then kind of fill in and be able to show people?
Absolutely. So I've got generic PowerPoint. If you can read and talk, it's ready to go, and you can use it, right?
Yeah.
So I got a generic and I've got over 2,000 real estate investors across the nation that are using my PowerPoint, generic PowerPoint, to teach the private lending program. And I'm so excited, Kim. I just recently finished writing my new money guide, which is called 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business. And whenever it's appropriate, I'm going to give that away as a free gift to your listeners.
Awesome.
Because it will start you on the fast track to getting private money lined up step by step.
We're going to get there real quick, guys. I've got jconnor.com, and that's Connor with an ER, not an OR, is up on the screen here. If you're just listening, just so you know, it will be in the show notes. I want to move real quick to what's feeding your soul. And we talk books, podcasts, things like that. And this is actually, you are also a fellow podcaster. Talk to me a bit about your podcast.
Yes, we now have over 500 episodes of Raising Private Money with Jay Connor. It's very, very easy to find the podcast. Just go to your iTunes or your Spotify and just search Raising Private Money, stick Jay Connor in there with an ER. It'll come right up. Now, what's feeding my, and I have amazing guests on there, like you do as well, Kim, today, for example, right? So I have amazing guests that join me on the show. And we talk to real people that have been out and raised a lot of private money, and I dig into their brain and exactly how are they doing it, where are they finding their private lenders, and etc. Well, speaking of what is feeding my soul, Kim, you'll never guess who I had as a guest on my podcast, Raising Private Money with Jay Connor, just last week. And that he is the co-author of the book, The Go-Giver. His name, can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I have Go-Giver. I have it right up there. You can see behind me the red book.
Yes, the red one. And now, of course, he's got. So his name is Bob Berg. Berg. He is the co-author of that book. So I had him on. It was an amazing show.
I love Bob Berg. It's actually Go-Giver. Who's listening? That is one of the number one books I tell people to read when they first start real estate. And I will tell you why. It teaches you the understanding that when you're having a conversation, there are multiple conversations. Within a conversation like this, there are like 6 or 7 other conversations going on. It teaches you to understand not only what's being said, but what's not being said, and to move through that. I love Bob Berg. That is awesome. That is awesome.
Oh, I'm telling you. In fact, I might be able to pull a string and get him on your show. How about that?
I would love that. I would love that. He is one of my favorites. And he was on, I listened to him in the Success Room in Clubhouse about 1.5 years ago. And I just love listening to him.
You'll love that episode that was just released last week on my podcast. You'll love that episode listening to me interview Bob.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And actually, we've got some deals because we know the commercial, and everybody should also be thinking about this. There are some huge things happening across, actually globally, commercial products that are B and C suite commercial are in huge financial trouble. Some of them pose opportunity to redesign those spaces into residential spaces. And on some of the smaller buildings, I promise you that everything that Jay is talking about can actually be reapplied to that. So if you're in a smaller market, for example, I'm going to give you an example, St. Louis, which is not necessarily a small market, but St. Louis just had a building 7 months ago that was pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, it was valued at $217 million. Post-COVID, it sold for $10 million. This is
Oh,
what's
wow.
happening. Yeah, this is what's happening. So take this information, think about all the opportunities, because even if you're in a larger market, there may be opportunity to rethink space that is being underutilized, be it a single family home, be it a home that can be divided into a duplex, because they're really encouraging multi-unit on single lots across North America, because we have a true crisis and you can be the solution to that crisis. We are short 5 million residential homes, 5 million. And you can be part of the solution, because that's what we do. That's what we do, right, Jay? We
You got it.
find solutions. We're solution creators. Okay, Jay, talk to me. Socials. I've got your Facebook link up here. We can find you at facebook.com, j.connor. That's with an ER, not an OR, .marketing. But you also have, you're a pro at this. You have freebies. You have opportunities for people to dip their toe in and get to know you to see if they want to work with you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. May I give away the gift right now?
Absolutely. Please, please
All
give away
right.
the
So
gift.
here it is. Here it is. This is a downloadable book, 7 Reasons Why Private Money Will Skyrocket Your Real Estate Business and Help You Build Incredible Wealth. You can download it at jayconner with an ER, JAYCONNER.com/money guide. So jayconner.com/money guide. Download this private money. It'll get you on the fast track to getting funding for all your real estate deals. And it's for commercial as well as single family. My focus is single family, but I've got a paid for free and clear shopping center. I've done condominium developments. So private money, it's all the same money, whether you want to use it for commercial or you want to use it for single family.
Amazing. And this is a conversation because everybody it backs away from stuff because they're concerned about the money. So, and I love the fact that you are doing one foot in front of the other, one leg of pants and then the other. We're not jumping in hoping that they all go on right. Okay, let's talk about this. I always want our guests to give us a quote and why that quote's important to them, because on the tough days, and folks, there's tough days for everybody. You know what? The Instagram feed is not real. It is not real. Life is hard for everyone. People have medical scares, people have financial struggles, people just have days where they don't want to get out of bed. Mel Robbins talks about that all the time. Well, the reason I ask for quotes, the reason I ask for inspiration, what inspires and fires you up is because some days you got to borrow somebody else's, and that's okay. That's what we're here for. So, Jay, give us your quote and the reason why.
Absolutely. So my quote is, the most important piece of real estate you can own is the real estate between your ears. In other words, we got to be in control of our attitude. You know, mindset is everything. Another book, which by the way, I highly recommend, by Jack Canfield, is called The Success Principles, right? And Jack Canfield's first success principle in the book is be 100% responsible for everything in your life. Now, he gives a formula, and I'm going to circle this back to the mindset. He gives a formula, which is E for event, plus R, which is your response, equals O, the outcome. E plus R equals O. And the reason that's so powerful is that no matter what happens in your life, sometimes things happen in your life that you did not attract, right? Like I've got a great friend that his dad died at 7 years when he was 7 years old, and he blamed his father dying for years. That was the excuse for everything that was going wrong in his life until he learned this formula. So he didn't have anything to do with that event, or maybe you did something that brought a bad event. It doesn't matter. What matters is how do you respond to the event that happened in your life? What's your response? Because your response to anything and everything that happens determines what you're now going to experience and what your outcome is. Well, guess what? you can be 100% responsible for your attitude and how you are looking at this day. You know what? I remind myself every morning, I've got a choice as to how I want to look at this day. And you're right, Kim. I mean, stuff happens
Yep.
to all of us, but it all comes down to how do we respond? You know, here's the deal. Everything that happened in your life has brought you to where you are here today, right? And
Yep.
how you responded to that. And here's another great writer downer from another great book by my friend.
Writer
Dr.
downer.
Be your future self now. Be your future self now. And I love what he says. What got you here will not get you there.
Ah, all right, Jay. If I ever get myself out to North Carolina, we're going for coffee because I just first of all I have to tell you, I love your accent. I love it. You have an accent. I know you think I have an accent, but you were the one with the accent. You know what, Jay?
Okay.
This has been an incredible 40 minutes. I have learned so much. I look forward to learning more because that's what life's all about, is learning more. And I really appreciate you sharing your insight, your expertise, and most importantly, your time.
Absolutely. Kim, thank you so much for having me. It has been my pleasure.
Excellent. Okay, guys, stick around for this super awesome closing. And until next time, you know what? Learn a little something and invest in yourself. Thank you for joining us at the 500 Doors, Your Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group at Real Estate Success with 500 Doors. Keep on watching and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment.